And so me, I would assume I'm more of a beta female. But however, like, is there some type of tool or quiz you can take to really figure out where you fall on the spectrum?
You see these blogs that have these heavy one-liners,
Mm-hmm.
but when you peel back that layer, that those one-liners are those what I call the little fun tests, are the
Mm-hmm.
ones that kind of put the misconception out there of what it is and what it really isn't, what they go through, whether they're born or not.
Okay.
Uh, and that's where I would say people know who they are, and you admit it, so it's good. So you say, "Look, I'm beta, I'm not that," and that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
That's fine, right? There's no right or wrong. In the book, I say, women are strength no matter what. Right? Society says women are supposed to look like this,
Mm-hmm.
X, Y. And if you don't, or if you are assertive, or if you have these certain type of qualities, then there's something wrong. And it was time to dispel that myth, and they always present it in a negative light. So now this was saying, okay, let's unleash the minds. These women have been around since the beginning of time. They are the game changers. Here's the truth about some of those myths, but also let's set the record straight.
And so that kind of brings me to my next question. Like, I know you talk about gender norms a lot and how societies view alpha females, but kind of looking at alphas as a whole, alpha females as well as alpha males, do you think there's some type of difference between the two, or is it just more, or is the only difference their sex or their gender?
For the most part, from an alpha standpoint, the alpha female is really like an alpha male
Mm-hmm.
in a female body. Really, they move just alike. They mimic each other quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference, society has always accepted that men should be alpha, right? Men should be tough. Men should be strong.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a lot
Yeah.
of men out there that will claim to be alpha that
Mm-hmm.
aren't as well. They aren't alpha at all. So there's very few, so they mimic each other. Now, the one thing I believe that, and in the research that I've done, that has kind of, I think, freaked society out about these women is, and even from the man's standpoint, is that if she's truly that, right? She can compartmentalize like a guy. She kind of moves like a guy. From what society says is a guy, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
more of a calculating train of thought. They're logical, very logical.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing the alpha female has up on an alpha male
Mm-hmm.
is that she has all of his strengths but none of his weaknesses. And when I say that is because from a man's standpoint, somewhere along the line, even from the alpha side, they're still kind of led by their Johnsons, by the way. Whereas
Yeah.
the female side, she knows that what she has and she knows how to use it, but she's not led by it.
Mm-hmm. And so, in the dating game as a whole, do you think it's important for women to set the tone in relationships? If so, like, what are some ways of going about that?
For any woman, I would say, or any person, that you should set the tone of expectation because you want to set the tone on what the expectation is on how are to be respected,
Mm-hmm.
treated, valued.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, that can be devalued, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in the book with Serena and Drew, the whole thing was, remember, Drew was the guy that,
Mm-hmm.
he claimed himself to be a little bit more of an alpha type, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was used to certain things, and all of a sudden he realized that, wait a minute, I kind of got to step up my game a little bit, with this woman I'm trying to date, and you see where he thinks he's alpha, but you see where he's not as alpha as he thinks,
Yeah, and
right?
kind
So
of falters a little bit.
a lot of people don't believe that alpha females will go through what a Serena has gone through,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where you can date a guy and what they love about you, they start to disdain to the
Mm-hmm.
point that it's dangerous and
Mm-hmm.
life threatening.
And so, have you seen Being Mary Jane? Um,
I have, I've seen bits and pieces. I've caught like one or two
okay.
episodes of that.
Okay. Yes, because I just want to ask you your opinion. Do you think Mary Jane is an alpha female because she's like very successful, she's aggressive in her career, she takes control, and things of that sort?
I saw there was one episode I saw of that, and it was
Mm-hmm.
funny because it was her and I think a friend of hers or a coworker, and the
Mm-hmm.
girl was crying, and she was reminding her and saying, "You can't show emotion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You cannot show emotion here." And she was talking about on the job, and you could tell they were good friends or what have you. And I forgot what all had happened, and finally, she backs down from her. She says, "You know what? Show all the emotion you want."
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what they try to portray her. I can tell you the two shows that I've watched probably the most where I
Mm-hmm.
think, and I love, don't get me wrong, I love Shonda Rhimes. I mean, I would love for
Mm-hmm.
Shonda Rhimes to pick this up, right, and put this go Netflix. Um, is Olivia Pope,
Oh yeah. Oh
Scandal,
yeah. She is great.
but then you have Annalise Keaton for How to Get Away with Murder.
Mm-hmm.
So the real Judy Smith, I've seen, I don't know her personally, kind of seen up there. I think, she's definitely more on the alpha side. Now, the Olivia Pope's character was not alpha.
Okay.
She wasn't. They tried to make her that. She wasn't. Her mom and her dad were.
Okay.
They were sociopathic side of it.
Yeah, they said, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Those guys were, straight up. But her parents were. And you notice they kind of tried to make her be that, but that's really not what she was.
Mm-hmm.
She was a fixture. She's kind of this adjusted alpha, right? She was kind of augmented. She
yeah.
had persona. But if you notice, she got played a lot. She succumbed to a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side of that, you take the Annalise Keaton character, right? Viola Davis, which I love the show, How to Get Murder.
Yeah.
A Perfect Life is jacked. But at the end of the day, her top thing is power. She has all the power in that, and she is that alpha. She is the epitome of an alpha female, right? She is it. She's calculating, and every time she makes a move, right when she has you on her side, you're like, wow, and all of a sudden you're like, God, I can't believe she did that. She's cold.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it turns back around, all of a sudden you're thinking, right when you're getting ready to dismiss her a little bit and write her off, then all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, well, this is why she did what she did. She's really protecting those, so you kind of back off on it. So.
And I know alpha females or alpha males aren't necessarily traditional. They're not really into abiding by tradition. They're more into being expressive and creating whatever that life they want for themselves. And so are alpha females particularly religious? Where do they fall with spirituality?
Spiritual. They have the spirituality, but they don't have to conform to religious norms.
Mm-hmm.
So, they respect religion, but they don't fall into the religious norm. And when I say religious norms means that they're still going to live their life. They're not going to let the religious side dictate their spirituality and how they live their life, whereas some people do. And this is what's called out in the book because it gets talked about where some are raised by Southern Baptist parents, right? That are expected that women have a certain role, a certain place. You're not supposed to be these things. And in doing the interviews, I mean, really and truly, this is where one of those stories come from where, the parent pretty much tried to abuse the alphaness out of her.
Yeah.
And he was a preacher. And so you're not going to change that,
And so, from the book, I learned, alpha females, they're very successful. They're strategic. They're calculating. They have high libidos. They're taking control of their life. They're just always, know what their next move is before they make that move. And so it seemed like are alpha females always successful? Are those traits that you describe or ascribe to alpha females, can beta females have some of those traits as well? Because it seemed like when you think of alpha females, you think of success. It seemed like they go hand in hand.
And I would say success, and remember, success, is defined differently for everyone. So from them, right, they have a definition of what the success looks like for them. Beta females, absolutely. There are different aspects and different traits a lot of beta females will have. The main thing is, and the one question I get more than anything else, and that's coming up from the next topic workshops, even the next book, is how to unleash that alpha within them. Because you have certain traits. Sometimes they're scared of it, on how to use it, or they're so used to hearing how the alphas are treated or how they're talked about, right, for being that. All of a sudden they're saying, I don't want to be judged, and that's the insecurity. Alpha females are saying, I don't really give a crap if you judge me, right? I don't care. You're going to judge me, but I'm going to do what I have to do, and all of a sudden you're going to try to footsteps. That's the way they think about it, right? I'm not going to worry about what you say. You're talking about me anyway, so what, right? You're going to love me, you're going to love me, you're going to hate me, so what? Whereas others are scared to. So that was the number one question through the course of interviews with women was, what if I have some of this? How do I use that? How do I utilize that in my career? How do I utilize that in life? And so the Sandberg, Sheryl Sandberg did the book Lean In, which is exactly what she was trying to talk about not being afraid to have a seat at the table. Females don't usually have that problem. They usually have, one of leaning back. Lean back a little bit. So yes, beta females, no doubt about it. There's plenty of them that have a lot of these keen traits. And I want to make sure that people understand that just because a woman is an executive or has a powerful position doesn't make her alpha.
Okay.
They're very different, right? They're very different. So, but most alpha females will have a powerful position. The majority of the time. You won't stand for anything less.
In regards to temperament and how people respond to the world. So are alphas necessarily more extroverted as opposed to being introverted, or what is your take on that?
So they're extroverts, but they're actually closet introverts. So they can be social, but they actually like to be secluded.
Mm-hmm.
But they know how to be social to execute a plan. They know how to be social to be connected. They know how to be social to be the power player. They know how to be social. So they can have the social, they have the friends, but they have a very close-knit set of friends. They're not going to have a big circle of true friends, right? Because their time is valuable, their energy is valuable, and it's just from the trust and the confidentiality of it all. So they have a very small circle of trust. It's how they operate. It's how they operate. So yeah, so they have extra. Most time people will think they're extroverts because they're out there. They see them out there. They're into a lot of things. They're on tons of boards. They're always speaking. But a lot of times they like their downtime, and a lot of times they will take trips by themselves. They will, be secluded. They have their own downtime. So it's a real interesting dynamic. I'll call them more of the closet introvert.
Because like you say, you would assume that they're extroverted, but like again, to me it's just really about strategy, like their larger strategy of having certain relationships, strategic partnerships and relationships. It's all part of like their grand plan of like maintaining power and control and meeting whatever their standards are.
The way their mind calculates, it's like breathing. It doesn't turn off, so it's not something they actually do necessarily. I would say they do it purposefully, but yet they don't, because it's literally the way they're wired.
Yeah,
it's fully the way they're wired. So it's as normal as breathing, and you can see it. I've seen it on some younger kids around 3-4 years old, 2 years old. You can watch them, and you'll see it. You'll see it come out, and you'll see them the way they play with others. You'll see what kids gravitate toward them early. You'll see the kids, the one that's leaving the room, at 2 and 3 years old, and they're like, well, why is every kid following that kid? And what they'll say is that, oh, she's bossy. Well, no, she's not bossy. She's just bossed at it. She knows, and the kids follow along. It's like a Pied Piper type deal.
Like you say, alpha females or alpha as a whole, just to generalize it, they have emotions, but are not emotional. So like, what really is the difference? Because to me, it's like really I know it's probably like a fine line between having emotions and not being emotional. But so how would you really elaborate on that?
They'll have a lot more of the higher emotional IQ. So when I say they have emotions, they have emotions. They're not completely unfeeling. But most people will think so because they keep a poker face. Most of the time, it's a calm exterior. Or if they do show it, they know what they're showing and they know how they're showing it. So it's a calculated showing, right? Very calculated. They're going to know when they're flashing certain things to get people to move in a certain way. But they're not emotional, whereas most people lose the cool and get hysterical. They're the ones most of the time that's keeping the cool head. Now, they may be freaking out on the inside, but they're not going to show it, right? So, and when I say from a female, think about it from a man's perspective, or society shows a guy, right? Most of the time, they always tell boys you can't cry, or men aren't supposed to show much emotion. So they kind of move in that direction, which from a female's perspective, because people are expecting females to always break down, cry, to show a little bit of a quote unquote weaker side or vulnerable side.
Like I noticed that you said that alpha females want a man that's complementary, not supplementary. And so can you elaborate on that idea, on that concept?
Having the guy, the great guy, the alpha guy, or what I said, the strong beta man by their side, is one that truly complements, and I will say that it's not filling the gap to make them complete, but it's complementing them to where they partner and make good partnerships together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. In chapter 6, we also meet the character of Campbell. Like she's kind of described as this queen pin. And so from your perspective as being the writer of the book, what qualifies women the title of a queen pin? Because that seemed like such a powerful, type of position to be in.
They're like mob bosses. They're the bosses. If you ever notice these women, they have their own sub-families. They have their own subset of friends, their own circles, their own network, right? And they are the ones that call the shots. In that, whether people realize it or not. Now they may not, and the funny part is that most people may not even realize they're calling the shots, but they are. So that's that power side, right? Other people may feel like they have control. Okay, fine, you have control, but they're the ones that's really maneuvering the control side.
The puppet master.
So what happens is that, but they also take care of the people that's in that circle. They take care of it, and there's a standard of having to maintain that circle, right? So, and the big thing is confidentiality and loyalty. So loyalty is big for them. And so, but then when you see the alphas of all those families get together, and I call it the Queen Pin Summit, right? You may see these powerful women come together, and they'll do lunch. They may go on a trip together because it's not that many. I'll say authentic ones. Most people may see them sit down at dinner. You may see them sitting down. They may fly out and hang out on a beach somewhere. And they're having fun, but trust me. This is being done as well.
So in the final chapter, Expose and Unleash, the audience learned, again about the addiction of power. And so, but in the book it says on page 134, hidden among Alpha Nation resides one of their darkest collective secrets, addiction. Most of them do not realize they're addicts for a good portion of their lives, which you talked about. Non-recognition of this weakness lends itself to always being top performers, leading in various aspects of their lives. And so I kind of want to know, why do you refer to their addiction as kind of a potential weakness or as a weakness? Because from my perspective, I really see it as one of their core strengths, because from that addiction of power, their accomplishments come. From like that addiction of power, they're able to control their situation strategically to get the greatest goal of whatever their objective is. And so like kind of why is it like referred to as a weakness?
So if that addiction is so strong and you don't even recognize that's really what the addiction is, right, then you have no power over it. Okay. So which means it's controlling you, which means now you're going to do any and everything to get it, which means now it may be costing you a lot more than what you actually gain. So, and that happens sometimes because what people see, again, what people see is, hey man, this person has a nice home, this person has a nice car, this person has some nice stuff, this person. Now the question is, how did they get it? And with how you got it, it's always how you have to maintain it. A lot of people don't realize this in corporate America, and me being in boardrooms, still.
Yeah.
And it's funny, and I have this conversation with peers, I have this conversation with my mentees, especially the younger ones coming up. I've been in situations, and I'll say this, that I've seen situations where both men and women, they think you're going to get it on your knees or on your back. Well, you can, but but what they don't realize, you never get off your knees and you're never off your back. And it does not matter what title comes with it. It doesn't matter what title comes with it. So if you got to being a director or a VP or president on your knees, you're just a president of on your knees or on your back. Yeah. And so a lot of people believe that once they get to that point, they don't have to do that anymore. And I'm here to tell you, it's not. So whatever you do to get it, you have to maintain it. And this is where I will say the non-alphas, you'll see this come up. The non-alphas, both men and women, would definitely come apart because that's where they can compromise probably a lot more.
My final question is, I know you're going to have a next segment called Unleashing the Alpha Within You. And it talks about to discover how to utilize your inner alpha. So what can you tell us, a little bit more about that next segment coming up?
You'll probably start seeing that come up with different events I'm doing coming up, but also have already thinking about it as a sequel for another book as well. I would hope to that one. I would love to get more alphas and make that one a bigger collaborative one, get different perspectives on. It may or may not work out that way, but for sure on the workshop side or speaking and engagement side, it's really allowing women, and I do it kind of on the side anyway, even, corporate America and stuff I do on my own from a motivational speaking standpoint, but it's really having this conversation with, it's okay to have that seat at the table. It's okay to know what you want and to say, this is what I want, right? And it's okay to be assertive. So people will confuse assertive with aggressive, right? They won't say she's assertive, they'll say she's aggressive. Well, no, not necessarily. Aggressive sounds more angry, but she's assertive. And if a woman doesn't know what she wants, it's like, why doesn't she know? Well, wait a minute. She knows what she wants. She's not afraid to go out and get it. Got it. And be happy with that. And don't let anybody make you feel less or make you feel ashamed that you do. That you do. And this is why, again, the book is done, because if you choose your career over having kids, that's fine. If you choose your career over marriage, if that's what you want, that's fine. It may not be that you don't want it, and if you don't, it's just not as high on the priority list for you, and that's okay. Who says that getting married and having kids has to be the number one priority for women? That's a society thing.
Reading this book kind of really provided that context of who she is exactly and how strategic she is and how she really calculates every move to ultimately work together for this greater plan, whatever that goal may be.
Well, the one thing I definitely want to address here as well, and I'm surprised you didn't ask that question, but the one question I used to get is that, can you really what happens when you pit two alpha females against each other? And that question gets asked quite a bit. If they're really true born alphas, you're not gonna get them to battle like that. You're not. They're gonna go into collusion. They're gonna go into collusion. They're gonna team up on you.
Yeah.
They're going to recognize what it is. They're going to recognize that they're going to recognize that game, that you're trying to pit one against the other. And so, and there's a mutual respect there. Where it falls apart, and I talked about in the book, where it falls apart is where you have one claiming to be alpha, and you have one that's really alpha. Both considered alpha, and one probably isn't. The one that falters first is the one that is, and you will see it. And it's the dynamic is just so interesting, and it may not show up right away, but as the stakes get raised and the pressure gets higher, that's how you see it. Alphas, be it man or woman, have a very because their insecurity threshold is so low, their self-preservation threshold is high, which means it takes a lot for them to go in that self-preservation mode, right? Before it's all about them, like, kill or be killed type deal. Now, when alpha female does reach that threshold, watch out, it's like an atomic bomb, because she'll blast everything within a certain radius, and she'll wipe it clean. Now, that's the wrath is strong, but it takes them a minute to get there because they're not that easily shaken. So I really want people to, men and women alike, every race, creed, or color, because it all went into every race, creed, and color that went into this book. Every religion, every aspect of society went into the book. To definitely submit reviews on Amazon or on the Facebook page or what have you.
Yeah, I would do that.
Absolutely, because I'm posting and I'm posting people's reviews about it, whether it's good, bad, and different. If it's not your cup of tea, say it's not your cup of tea. Say it's why, but at least say what you got out of it, right? Because all this is about owning your truths. That was a big part about this: owning the truths, good, bad, or indifferent. Really.
Yep, definitely. And so, yeah, it was, again, really great talking to you, Miss CeCe Lyon. I think the book was great. I'm definitely going to leave that review, and I'm going to tell Jimmy to do the same thing if she hasn't done that already.
Oh, absolutely. Like I say, definitely recommend it to your friends.
Yes, for sure.
Definitely hit me up if you guys want to do, like I said, a bigger session. Definitely let me know. I'm watching you guys out there. You guys are growing by leaps and bounds. Definitely going to see more from you. You guys are doing a great job, so keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too now.